Chapter 1076, Transactions with Shadow Sect, 1/3. Sixth Hair did not want to tell this secret to Fang Yuan, but he really had no choice. Ing Wuxie's situation forced him to do this. Breathing in a deep breath, Sixth Hair continued. Fang Yuan, you were able to take sovereign immortal fetus Gu away at the most crucial moment. It was not just because of your own capabilities, but because you received the guidance of Heaven's will. Even the fact that you were able to use spring-autumn cicada to rebirth was also part of Heaven's will's plot, to let you return to the past and ruin my Shadow Sect's grand plan. Fang Yuan heard this, and his heart shook. The first half was still fine, but the content of the second half, even with his mental fortitude, he also could not control himself. Boom! Coincidentally, at this time, there was a huge tremor in the outside world. What is going on? In an instant, Fang Yuan regained his cool. He sat up as he used his goo worms. His eyes pierced the cloud cover. He saw that there was thunder rumbling in the sky. Several bolts of lightning were flickering, that a thunderstorm was brewing. Sixth Hair laughed coldly, but he felt bleak internally. Fang Yuan, you have just undergone tribulation. There is still much of Heaven's will left in Langya blessed land. My earlier words exposed the scheme of Heaven's will. I attracted the fury of Heaven's will. But all blessed lands and grotto heavens are small worlds independent of the 5 regions. Heaven's will cannot control this place. The tribulations are already over. No matter how angry Heaven's will is, there is no use. Fang Yuan did not deny it. He looked at Sixth Hair expressionlessly. Continue speaking. Sixth Hair was hesitant earlier, but now that he had spoken, he felt relieved on the inside. He spoke even more quickly, continuing. Fang Yuan, your spring-autumn cicada also has Heaven's will hidden in it. This has been verified by Lord Ing Wuxie. This is the best evidence proving that every single one of your rebirths were affected by Heaven's will. Spring-autumn cicada uses everything in the Gu immortal and only retains a will. This will is carried inside spring-autumn cicada and enters the river of time, traveling upwards to your body in the past, achieving a rebirth. Fang Yuan, you have used it many times, you should know this clearly. Fang Yuan was expressionless. He did not retort. Sixth Hair continued. Spring-autumn cicada has Heaven's will in it. Every time you use spring-autumn cicada, it is the best chance for Heaven's will to increase its influence on you. Because at that time, you only have some portion of remaining will left, without your body. Your focus will also be on the river of time. You will not anticipate such a plot working on you. After rebirth, you naturally had to think about how to use your rebirth advantage to cultivate. Precisely so, you were plotted against by Heaven's will. The things you experienced before rebirth, the opportunities that you knew, were they really simply what you know now? Those so-called fortuitous encounters were just bait left by Heaven's will, so that as a tool of Heaven's will, you would grow and reach Etion Mountain, ruining Shadow Sect's plan. According to our deduction, in the future before your first rebirth, Shadow Sect had succeeded. But Heaven's will was not willing to see my main body become a venerable again. Why did Bo Qing fail in the past? It was because he was a split soul of my main body. And furthermore, after my main body obtained the sovereign immortal fetus and revived, he would definitely grow beyond all of the other venerables. In the future, Heaven's will was no longer able to eliminate my main body. Thus, it thought of a way, creating a plot to send you back in time, using you to change the past and remodel the future. Fang Yuan suddenly asked, Wait, I don't understand something. Why did Heaven's will choose me? Because you are an otherworldly demon. Only otherworldly demons can change the past. If they are not an otherworldly demon, even a venerable cannot do enough. Red Lotus Demon Venerable tried all his life, but he only broke fake goo. He could not even destroy it, or harm Heaven's will. Of course, you are not the only otherworldly demon. But regardless, after taking personal experience and circumstances into account, during that time period, you were the most suitable candidate to be the tool. Sixth Hair answered. Fang Yuan was silent. This was a brand new perspective, a shocking revelation. Sixth Hair's words made Fang Yuan realize that he was immersed in a huge scheme. He thought back over the 500 years of his previous life. He had roamed for hundreds of years. Was it the suppression of Heaven's will? He had wanted to refine blood deity. Did Heaven's will obstruct him from doing so? It seemed too easy that he obtained Spring-Autumn Cicada's immortal goo recipe after refining Spring-Autumn Cicada. He immediately faced the attack of all the 10 great ancient sections. Sixth Hair looked at his expression and saw that Fang Yuan was moved. But because he did not express himself, Sixth Hair could only curse internally as he asked again. Your Spring-Autumn Cicada is only rank 6. There is a high chance of failure. Why did you succeed every time you used it? That isn't the case. I failed the last time. As Fang Yuan said this, he suddenly was stunned. This point was the strongest evidence proving the presence of heaven's will. His amnesia did not affect this part of his memories. He remembered that he used Spring-Autumn Cicada to rebirth because he was hit by Heaven Overseeing Tower. He could not dodge and had no choice. But before this, the great strength true martial immortal zombie was already vaporized by Heaven Overseeing Tower. According to Sixth Hair's explanation, it could be understood as the great strength true martial immortal zombie was destroyed. The 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation was incomplete. It could not refine goo. Shadow Sect's plan failed. The only other way was He Lu Lan, but she was not at Etian Mountain. Thus, Heavens will no longer needed the tool, Fang Yuan, and he failed when using Spring-Autumn Cicada. Instead, Shadow Sect refused to lose. After Heavens will abandoned Fang Yuan, Shadow Sect used the Red Lotus True Inheritance to help Fang Yuan rebirth and change the past, allowing Shadow Sect's plan to progress. What? You do not know that I failed my last activation? Fang Yuan looked at Sixth Hair. Sixth Hair blinked and felt cold sweat in his hands that he naturally did not know this. He was only a split soul. He did not even join the Battle of Etian Mountain. He had been inside Langya Blessed Land the entire time. Furthermore, he only had Ing Wu Xie as a higher-up. A lot of his information came from Ing Wu Xie, but he knew that Ing Wu Xie had activated Spring-Autumn Cicada. Originally, Ing Wu Xie was plotted against by Fang Yuan and had no way out. But because of Spring-Autumn Cicada, there was a reset which caused the current situation. Sixth Hair was thinking about whether he should tell Fang Yuan this secret. He got more and more nervous as he thought over it. He did not know what reaction Fang Yuan would have after he told him. But at this time, Fang Yuan waved his hand, saying, "Never mind, continue." Sixth Hair heaved a sigh of relief. He let out a breath and calmed his emotions. He continued, "Heavens will plan for you to be a tool. It was a brilliant move. We subconsciously assumed that an otherworldly demon would have nothing to do with Heaven's will. Because of this, even my main body was deceived. After 3 Kings' blessed land, one of our split souls, Old Man Yen Shi, found out that you had Spring-Autumn Cicada, that you were someone who had been reborn. But because you already went to Hu Immortal Inheritance, and our 100,000-year plan was right before us, we did not want to create external trouble, so we tried to scheme against you secretly. Thus, Old Man Yen Shi blocked deductions for you, and that caused the Central Continent Gu Immortals, Feng Jiuji's group, to go to Luo Pa Valley. In that battle, even though the blazing glory lightning brilliance immortal zombie escaped, he was captured by old ancestor Xuehu. Heavenly Court and these Gu Immortals in Northern Plains were all secretly influenced by Heaven's will. They were part of my main body's human tribulation. Fang Yuan, after rebirth, on the way to Northern Plains from Southern Border, you encountered a lot of unexpected mishaps, right? These were all caused by Heaven's will to eliminate you. Similarly, Lord Ing Wu Xie is in a desperate situation now. A part of the reason was that Lord Ing Wu Xie had obtained your body. He also attracted a lot of enemies for you, and is facing the problem for you. Fang Yuan, your name is on the Demon Judgment Board. The 10 great ancient sects are after you. Even Heavenly Court is pursuing you. Lord Ing Wu Xie is the best example of your future. Do you think you can be safe if you hide in the other 4 regions and don't go to Central Continent? My main body defied Heaven to refine Gu, but Heavenly Court's Gu Immortals could still come after us. The main reason that most Gu Immortals don't travel regions is not because of the 5 regional walls, but because of their calamities and tribulations. Once they arrive, the result is hard to predict. If their tribulation was affected, they would suffer. Furthermore, Heavenly Court Gu Immortals give their immortal apertures to Heavenly Court. They have no calamities and tribulations. They go outside using a phantom aperture, and they have the method to sleep while preserving their lifespan. Fang Yuan, Let me ask this. If I did not inform you today, would you know about Heaven's will? The scheme that made you a tool. You and my main body have deep enmity. That is true, but you are also closely linked to us. Lord Ing Wuxie is in grave danger. If he ends up in the hands of Heavenly Court, your relationship with him and your information would all be leaked. Heavenly Court will come after you, because Heavenly Court are the lackeys that defend Heaven's will. Earlier, Feng Jiu Gu and the other Central Continent Gu immortals went to Northern Plains to investigate, and later, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord launched an ambush in Southern Border. Fang Yuan, you and Lord Ing Wuxie are tied together by the same rope. If he dies, you will follow soon enough. Sixth Hair had great eloquence. He spoke without pausing. He listed his reasons with strong evidence. It was truly convincing and understandable. Fang Yuan was so moved he could not help but say, "You are right. This is truly the case. I think we can have a good transaction." Sixth Hair was overjoyed, he thought. This matter is settled. At this moment, he was about to tear up, because recently, he had been under strong pressure. Because of him, Fang Yuan succeeded in the tribulation and refined change form immortal Gu, no matter the reason or motive. The result was clear. He was at fault. He was filled with regret and anguish. Thus, he had to make up for his mistake. Now, he exposed his identity and took a huge risk to urge Fang Yuan. It was Ing Wuxie's idea, but Sixth Hair was also a willing party to it. Seemed now that everything was worth it. Fang Yuan was Ing Wuxie's only way out. Sixth Hair had helped Ing Wuxie open up this possibility single-handedly. Chapter 1077, Transactions with Shadow Sect, 2/3. Then how do we deal? What do you people need? Fang Yuan asked with an amicable expression. Fang Yuan, we know you have a lot of immortal materials. The immortal materials picked up in Earth Trench have a problem. They are filled with Heaven's will. We do not want these. But the huge amount of immortal materials from Falling Heavenly River can be traded. This is our list. Take a look. Sixth Hair took out an information path mortal goo. Fang Yuan received it and inspected it before his consciousness entered the goo. He nodded as he browsed. That a moment later, Fang Yuan said to Sixth Hair, I have most of these immortal materials, but as a member of Langya's sect, can't you get these from Langya's sect's inventory? Sixth Hair smiled bitterly. Times are different. The new Langya land spirit is not the same as previously. In Langya's sect contribution points are everything. If I want to get items from the inventory, I will need to use my sect contribution points. But my sect contribution points have not reached the number that Lord Ing Wuxie needs. You are right. Fang Yuan nodded before asking. I can give you these immortal materials, but how will these immortal materials reach Ing Wuxie? Treasure Yellow Heaven is currently closed. Ing Wuxie had been selling immortal goo. He made a huge commotion. Fang Yuan knew about it. Sixth Hair continued speaking. It is more troublesome without Treasure Yellow Heaven, but there is a way to send these to Lord Ing Wuxie. Zombie Alliance was a subsidiary of Shadow Sect before the Battle of Etion Mountain because old ancestor Shui who had stolen immortal zombie bodies. Zombie Alliance had ordered the branches to create a super goo formation to connect between the 5 regions. Even if someone attacks a branch, we can transport these immortal zombie bodies to other regions using the super goo formation. I thought this was just an excuse to plot against the immortal zombies. To think it was real? Fang Yuan was slightly surprised. Sixth Hair smiled bitterly. This is true. Sacrificing Zombie Alliance to refine sovereign immortal fetus goo was not part of Shadow Sect's original plan. During the Battle of Etion Mountain, we had no choice and did it. There were more benefits in keeping Zombie Alliance. If possible, we would not have sacrificed them. Fang Yuan nodded. He thought about the 500 years of his previous life. During that time, Zombie Alliance was still around in the 5 regions, even until the 5 regions' chaotic war, and just before Fang Yuan's rebirth, it still played a significant role in the affairs of the world. But it was different now. Zombie Alliance in all 5 regions was now an empty shell. Most of the immortal zombies were used as immortal materials and were refined in the 10 extreme immortal zombie lifeless formation. Up until this point, the 5 regions were still in a commotion. Because of it, after all, when Zombie Alliance was around, it controlled many resources. These resources were now ownerless. Many goo immortal experts and super forces were fighting for them. There were bloody scenes. It seems that in the 500 years of my previous life, Shadow Sect indeed succeeded. Zombie Alliance's continued existence proves this point. Heavenly Court attacked Langya Blessed Land, resulting in Feng Jiuji's death inside Langya Blessed Land. This event is very suspicious. Shadow Sect had spies inside Heavenly Court. Maybe Spectral Soul had revived and controlled Heavenly Court, turning it into his own force. Fang Yuan thought a little and felt that many things in his memories could have likely had a deeper story behind them. This world's secrets are too deep. Legendary people have appeared continuously. Countless experts contest and plot against each other. They are like the countless stars shining in the sky. Even though I was considered an expert, compared to these people, I am not outstanding. Precisely because of this, it is more interesting, isn't it? Ha ha. Fang Yuan thought about this and felt increasingly joyful. On the surface, his lips curled up as he smiled lightly. Sixth Hair could not understand it, he thought. Why is he smiling? And why do I have a bad feeling? Fang Yuan breathed in deeply. He looked at Sixth Hair with a shining gaze. His smile became more apparent. Then, what can I get in exchange for my immortal materials? Immortal goo. Sixth Hair answered, having a calm expression. Interesting, very interesting. Fang Yuan clapped and smiled. What immortal goo could Ing Wuxie sell? It was obviously Fang Yuan's own immortal goo. Selling Fang Yuan's immortal goo back to himself. Ing Wuxie's plan was really amazing. But even Fang Yuan himself felt that Ing Wuxie's idea was quite good. In this world, who would want these immortal goo more than Fang Yuan? Even if there were such people, they would be few in number. And for other goo immortals, they were not used to these immortal goo. They needed to get familiar with them. But Fang Yuan was very familiar with them. He could use them well. These immortal goo had greater value to Fang Yuan than to others. Furthermore, even if immortal goo were sold, they needed suitable goo immortals. For example, a strength path immortal goo would not be well utilized by goo immortals of other paths. Because of differences in paths and conflict in Dao marks, the effect would be reduced. It was not suitable for them. Unless they were using it as a supplementary goo worm for an immortal killer move, but such situations were rare. One could say, Fang Yuan was the best buyer. Not only did he have use for these immortal goo, most importantly, he could afford them. As for how to send the immortal goo, Zombie Alliance's super goo formation was likely to be used. Fang Yuan smiled. How many of my immortal goo are left? Not only do I want to buy them, I also want He Lu Land self-strength immortal goo, and Tai Bai Yun Sheng's man as before and landscape as before. I will include these 3 immortal goo into my request. Sixth Hair considered it for a while before nodding. I can make the decision on this matter and agree to it. Ing Wuxie had control over Tai Bai Yun Sheng and He Lu Lan. He could make them hand over their immortal goo. And the most important thing now was to escape from danger and get away. Other matters could be put aside. Fang Yuan said again, we will trade at the same time. Bring your immortal goo. I will pay the immortal materials. At this time, Sixth Hair showed a difficult expression. As a matter of fact, it will take some time for you to see the immortal goo. You are aware of the situation in the 5 regions. All the Zombie Alliance branches are being targeted. If Northern Plains Dark Flow Giant City did not sink into Earth Trench, it would have been ransacked already. The Super Goo formation is placed in Dark Flow Giant City. It will take some time for me to get the immortal goo. But before this, I hope that you can provide some immortal materials first. Because these immortal materials are going to be used for goo refinement. The faster we refine, the better. Over on Lord Ing Wuxie's end, we do not know how long they can last. Fang Yuan heard this and sneered internally. Sixth Hair is speaking both truth and lies at once. Earlier, he said Ing Wuxie is in grave danger. Now he is indicating that Ing Wuxie can last for some time. On the surface, Fang Yuan's expression turned stiff. He rejected. No, impossible. If I pay immortal materials and you do not hand me the immortal goo, wouldn't I be a fool? Don't worry about this. I have prepared an information path immortal killer move to restrict both sides. None of us can break it. Sixth Hair had a sincere expression. Fang Yuan laughed. He waved his hand. Don't talk to me about information path methods. I don't believe it. Since you can subdue He Lu Lan, you must have removed her information path alliance agreement, right? I do not cultivate information path. Would I be so foolish as to make an information path agreement with you? This, Sixth Hair hesitated. He understood Fang Yuan's thoughts. If it were him, he would not set an agreement with Shadow Sect either. How about this? Sixth Hair quickly thought of a new idea. I can use information to exchange for a portion of the immortal materials first. How about that? This information and these secrets have immense value to you. Fang Yuan, don't you want to know what the limitations of Heaven's will are? Don't you want our Shadow Sect's precious experience in dealing with Heaven's will? And information about otherworldly demons, even information about Langya Blessed Land, don't you want them? Fang Yuan was deeply enticed at Heaven's will. After understanding that Heaven's will was plotting against him, how could Fang Yuan ignore it? In this world, who else other than Shadow Sect had greater experience in dealing with Heaven's will? If not for Shadow Sect taking the initiative to transact, Fang Yuan would still be left in the dark for a long period of time. But as for the matter of otherworldly demons, Fang Yuan was very curious. Why did he transmigrate here? Were otherworldly demons were there? Did they come from the same place as him? Why could otherworldly demons change the past? And information about Langya Blessed Land. Langya Blessed Land had existed for 300,000 years. What secrets were hidden inside? This was extremely important for Fang Yuan, who was getting Langya Land Spirit's help, and also his goal of obtaining Langya Blessed Land. Undeniably, all this information was extremely valuable. They were very helpful to Fang Yuan. At this moment, the room was silent. Neither side was talking. Fang Yuan was deep in thought. Sixth Hair waited for Fang Yuan to agree. He was very confident that Fang Yuan would definitely say yes. The allure of this information was too high. After all, of course, if not for this situation, Sixth Hair would not have wanted Fang Yuan to know these secrets. Fang Yuan spoke, but instead asked a question. I don't understand something. Since there is a super goo formation, why aren't Wu Xie and the rest using the super goo formation to escape directly? Sixth Hair explained honestly. The super goo formation can only transport immortal materials. Immortal zombie bodies are considered immortal materials, but they cannot include the immortal aperture. It is too hard to transport goo immortals across regions. There are some methods, but they are very rare. For example, fixed immortal travel, but immortal goo are one of a kind. Stargate goo is an exception, but it is too limited. And not everyone can enter immortal apertures. Shadow Sect knew about Stargate goo. Fang Yuan had used it many times, and even gave the goo recipe to Langya Land Spirit. It was not strange that Shadow Sect knew about be it fixed immortal travel or Stargate goo. They had requirements towards the goo immortal being transported. The goo immortal must have few down marks in their body for transportation. Especially Stargate goo. It was only immortal goo. Even though it used the power of Black Heaven, only rank 6 bottom-tier goo immortals, or those who had only gone through a few calamities could use it. Of course, the things inside the goo immortal's immortal aperture were in another world. They were not considered in this. Thus, back then, Fang Yuan used his dead aperture to contain rank 9 wisdom goo. He could transport it using Stargate goo, using rank 6 bottom-tier goo immortals or immortal zombies as the container to use fixed immortal travel or Stargate goo for cross-regional transportation. This was very possible, but it could not be used widely. There was only one fixed immortal travel in the world, and Stargate goo was in the hands of few people. Furthermore, rank 8 goo immortals and high-rank immortal materials or immortal goo have too many down marks. They are a huge burden to the immortal aperture. Living immortal apertures could burst, while dead immortal apertures would break apart even more quickly. They could not go through this many times. Precisely because of this, Fang Yuan placed the high-rank immortal materials into immortal blessed land or star form blessed land. These blessed lands that were placed in the outside world were very stable. Rank 8 goo immortals have their own unique methods to travel across regions. It was through White Heaven and Black Heaven. Earlier, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord had brought a group of people to southern border and thwarted Shadow Sect's plan. They went there through White Heaven. Chapter 1078. Transaction with Shadow Sect, 3/3. There had never been good methods to transport goo immortals across regions, because goo immortals had little need for this. When goo master undergo immortal ascension, they would become goo immortals of their respective regions due to the heaven and earth chi. For example, they would be a northern plains goo immortal, or a central continent goo immortal. The Gu immortals had a territorial mentality. Gu immortals from other regions were usually ostracized. At the end of the Battle of Etian Mountain, He Lu Lan and Tai Bai Yun Sheng were pursued by southern border Gu immortals. This point was showed clearly. In this aspect, Eastern Sea was more open. The territorial mentality was not the key. Most importantly, once in a while, Gu immortals had to place their immortal apertures in the outside world to draw in heaven and earth chi and stabilize it. At this time, the heaven and earth chi needed was very specific. If a northern plains Gu immortal placed their immortal aperture in central continent and took in central continent's heaven and earth chi, there would be huge problems. The third reason was calamities and tribulations. Gu immortals faced calamities and tribulations continuously. Who would have the time to run around? What was the point of going to other regions? Unless they had important reasons, like clues to a huge inheritance, or maybe for investigation missions like Feng Yuan. There was one thing to note. There was little demand for Gu immortals to travel across regions, but immortal Gu and immortal materials were not the same. They had huge demand for them, and these demands were mostly settled through treasure yellow heaven, due to all sorts of reasons. Few people researched in regional transportation of Gu immortals. In history, there were barely any results. Zombie Alliance's Super Gu formation was merely used to transport immortal materials. Who would waste their time and effort to research on something useless? Gu immortals had huge pressure towards survival. Even though they were immortals, they could not live freely and peacefully. Managing their immortal apertures, raising immortal Gu, and dealing with tribulations, these were enough for all Gu immortals to slog their lives out. Thus, since long ago, cross-regional transportation methods for Gu immortals were very primitive. They were developed slowly. As a result, when the Grand 10 Great Ancient Sects of Central Continent dispatched a team of Gu immortals to go northern plains, they barged through 2 regional walls that in 400 to 500 years, there would no longer be a need to research on this. Because the 5 regional walls would start to disappear, the 5 regions will merge into one. This was something for the future. Forget about it for now. In the hall, Fang Yuan let out a hearty laugh. He had probed for so long. He finally had a clear understanding of this transaction. Fang Yuan, why are you laughing? Sixth Hair's ominous feeling was growing. Because I am happy. Even though the Super Gu formation can only transport immortal materials, that is enough. Forget about information and whatnot. My first condition is my original body. Hand it to me. Fang Yuan spoke quickly. Sixth Hair's expression changed. He knew about wisdom Gu. If Fang Yuan obtained his body, together with his soul, he could use the light of wisdom and borrow the might of wisdom Gu once again. What did that imply? He would be like a tiger with wings. He would soar to the sky. In the past, Fang Yuan had a flaw. He did not have lifespan Gu to feed wisdom Gu. But now, Lang Yalan's spirit had a good number of lifespan Gu to feed it. Fang Yuan knew about heaven's will already. If he had wisdom Gu's help, how could he be stopped? He would be like an eagle in the sky, or a flood dragon roaming the seas, together with the sovereign immortal aperture. My goodness! Sixth Hair cried out in his thoughts. These few elements alone were shocking. They were unprecedented. If they were combined together, he would gain unimaginable strength. How would anyone else ever compete with him again? That will not work. Sixth Hair shook his head. Without a body, how can Lord Wu Xie escape from his predicament? I have bodies. Fang Yuan laughed. I have many strength path immortal zombie bodies. We can trade one for one. You will not suffer a loss for sure. These immortal zombie bodies have more Dao marks than my original body. You are definitely going to profit. Profit my ass. Sixth Hair scolded Fang Yuan's shamelessness internally. His expression became ugly. He snickered at Fang Yuan. Let's not beat about the bush. Why would I not know your intentions? Oh, so you know about wisdom Gu. Fang Yuan rubbed his chin. Immortal Gu and information can be sold, but body, no way. Sixth Hair rejected with a firm reply, but Fang Yuan's mood changed even more quickly. Then there's nothing to say? Goodbye, see you. Fang Yuan stood up and waved his hand, chasing Sixth Hair away. Sixth Hair was stunned. He was dazed in place, unmoving. Seeing him like this, Fang Yuan snickered internally. With a flourish of his sleeves, he took his leave. Sixth Hair jolted to awareness. He said, Fang Yuan, wait. You agreed? Fang Yuan did not turn around. He only turned his head. Body cannot be sold. The rest can be negotiated. Sixth hair insisted. Fang Yuan snorted, walking ahead and through the door, leaving Sixth hair's vision. Sixth hair quickly chased him. We have to be willing parties in a transaction. Fang Yuan, why must you make it difficult for us? If we encounter trouble, you will soon follow. Fang Yuan stopped moving, but he did not turn around even now. He left the back of his head facing Sixth hair. It was very rude. Sixth hair heard Fang Yuan's words. You are right. But so what if I follow? At most, I will die. Sixth hair walked several steps and chased after Fang Yuan, urging, Fang Yuan, why the need to say these things? Who would believe such lies? Will you be willing to die? With Shadow Sect around, how many enemies are we drawing away from you? Without us, how long can you last? You think you can deal with Heaven's will? Even my main body failed after 100,000 years of planning. With a common enemy ahead of us, why are you like this? Noisy. A sword wave appeared around Fang Yuan. Rank 7 Immortal Gu Wave Sword. Sixth hair was forced to retreat. He quickly said, Careful, be careful. Don't use Immortal Gu, it will ruin my arrangements. If Lang Yalan's spirit finds out, we will both face the consequences. Fang Yuan snickered. He walked ahead as he said, The body is my first condition. If this cannot be fulfilled, forget the rest. You have 3 days. Go and have a good discussion with your Lord Wuxia. Sixth hair stomped his feet. 3 days. Fang Yuan, you know that Lord Wuxia is facing great danger. We have to fight for time. Fang Yuan walked away as his voice drifted over. It is great that you realize this. Quickly agree to it. After the deal, you can use the immortal materials to refine Gu and last an even longer time, right? Sixth hair had a ruthless expression. He gritted his teeth as he pointed at Fang Yuan. Killing intent surged. Fang Yuan, don't go overboard. So what if I do? I will not be the first to die. I can live well inside Langya blessed land for some time. But you guys? Without Wuxia, Spectral Soul's main body will remain trapped in the giant dream realm. He, the great Spectral Soul demon venerable, he is going to die before me. Ha ha. Fang Yuan laughed. He walked through the door and vanished from Sixth hair's vision completely. Sixth hair stared with bloodshot eyes. Fang Yuan's shameless and thuggish attitude dealt a huge blow to him. In less than half a day, Sixth hair went to Fang Yuan again. Lord Wuxia agreed. Sixth hair stared at Fang Yuan. He wanted nothing more than to tear him to shreds. A sharp light flashed across Fang Yuan's eyes. Sixth hair agreed so quickly. On Wuxia's end, the situation must really be terrible. This was both good and bad. Fang Yuan wanted to gain the most benefits from this trade, but he also wanted Wuxia to draw away the enemies for him. It was most beneficial to Fang Yuan for Heavenly Court and Shadow Sect's remnant forces to fight. We will trade the immortal zombie bodies first, 1 for 1, before we continue with the others. Fang Yuan said, adding, If I find out that you tampered with the body, don't blame me for what I will do. You know I am a person who has been reborn. I can use some future methods. Impossible. We will do the transactions all at once. Sixth hair was not easy to fool, but Fang Yuan was a tougher nut to crack. A little later, Sixth hair lost. He raised 3 fingers, gritting his teeth. Fine, we will first trade the immortal zombie bodies. But there are only 2 deals after that. We will conclude this trade in 3 sessions. 3 days later in Langya blessed land, the 2 made their transaction. Okay, next will be immortal Gu. I want all of my immortal Gu, along with self-strength, man as before, and landscape as before. Fang Yuan said. Sixth hair had a curious expression. So many immortal Gu. Do you have enough immortal materials? Fang Yuan laughed. Of course. A few minutes later. This is what you mean by of course? You casually change the quantity to be traded by yourself. These immortal materials are not enough to buy even 30% of the immortal Gu. Sixth hair screamed furiously. We can continue to negotiate the deal. What do you mean by changing it myself? I did not casually do it. I am very sincere. Fang Yuan smiled lightly. Your mother is sincere. Sixth hair cursed. Fang Yuan's expression stiffened. This means you do not want a deal? Saying this, his sleeves billowed as he turned around. Sixth hair was beyond furious. Threatening to leave? The same trick again. I don't care. I am not the first to die anyway. Fang Yuan shrugged. latching on Sixth Hair's weakness. Sixth Hair's expression froze. He felt like he had fallen into an icy river. He felt really foolish. Why did he expose his own weakness? But, with Fang Yuan's shrewdness, even if he said nothing, he would sense it. The second transaction was a long tug-of-war. Fang Yuan's price was way too low. Shadow Sect was not going to take it in a few days. They went through dozens of difficult negotiations until both sides came to an agreement. Fang Yuan relented a bit, but he still earned the most from this. Sixth Hair had a downcast expression. His straight back had hunched already. Thankfully, there is only one last deal left, the third transaction. What? We agreed on 3 transactions. Why do you want to extend it to 10? Fang Yuan, you shameless bastard. You fiend with no bottom line. Can't you see the big picture at all? Die. Let's just all die together. Sixth Hair screamed. His throat went sore. Blood was flowing out of his nose due to anger. But Fang Yuan only said one thing, reflecting all of these statements. I am not the first to die anyway. Once Ing Wuxia dies, Spectral Soul's main body is going to follow. After all, the dream realm is huge. The consumption of the soul is extremely rapid as well. Extremely rapid as well. Extremely rapid. Extremely. Fang Yuan's voice was floating around in Sixth Hair's head. Next, he fainted on the spot. Chapter 1079, Regaining His Body and Spring Autumn. A dark and deep pool of soul water undulated with countless ripples. Ing Wuxia opened his eyes wide, the ghost fire in his eyes burning bright as he observed the surface of the soul watered. He was viewing a scene that outsiders would not be able to observe. Sixth Hair's figure appeared in the soul water. He was half kneeling on the ground and had an expression of remorse and guilt. Lord, I made a huge mistake. When Fang Yuan was facing the tribulation, if I had not used, I have already said that this matter is not your fault. Speaking of which, it is also because I used my trump card to increase my luck, which allowed Fang Yuan to take advantage of it. Ing Wuxia's voice directly transmitted to Gu Immortal Sixth Hair's mind. This was the method of communication between Sixth Hair and Ing Wuxia. It was a soul path method, but with the effect of information path, and was extremely powerful. Both sides were in Central Continent and Northern Plains, separated by 2 regional walls. Moreover, there was Langya Blessed Land as well. Not only were they able to communicate in real time, they were also able to evade Langya Land spirit senses. Right now, Ing Wuxia no longer had Fang Yuan's appearance. He had already changed to another strength path immortal zombie's body. But this vessel, because it was too old, its immortal aperture had already broken apart, and what Ing Wuxia obtained was only the physical body. Unlike Fang Yuan's zombie body, which had a mortal aperture as well as an immortal aperture as such, it was very inconvenient for Ing Wuxia to use goo worms. Whether it be immortal goo or mortal goo, they could only live in parts of his body like on his skin, hair, blood, bones, and so on. Not only would this leak their aura and make it easier for enemies to inspect, it was also not safe. When the physical body gets struck by an attack, the goo worms could also very well meet with a terrible fate. Gu worms were very fragile. Ing Wuxia could be said to have suffered a huge loss from this transaction with Fang Yuan, but his expression was tranquil. He instead encouraged Sixth Hair. You did this task very well. You constantly expressed weakness to Fang Yuan during the whole transaction process. Good job. Especially the fainting at the end. Without your efforts, I wouldn't have obtained the immortal materials I needed. Sixth Hair sighed. I intentionally fainted to probe Fang Yuan, but unfortunately he did not do anything to me. Since he knows our background, he is naturally extremely cautious. Moreover, we have already done transactions multiple times now. Both sides have gotten a handle on the other. He has to be wary against us reporting about him to Langya Land Spirit. Ing Wuxia replied he had been in an absolute plight just now, and had thought about every possible way, before finding there was no way left other than Fang Yuan. Before transacting with Fang Yuan, he had already made sufficient mental preparations. The immortal material list he gave to Fang Yuan had exaggerated contents with huge numbers, hiding the immortal materials he truly wanted within them. In short, he had achieved his goal. He was able to fight for a ray of hope in this desperate situation. As long as he passed this hurdle, his future prospects would be extremely promising, not mentioning the other immortal goo. But the main thing is that Fang Yuan not only obtained his physical body, he now has spring-autumn cicada as well. His current foundation is extremely huge. Sixth Hair was still worried. Ing Wu Xie snorted. Even if Fang Yuan gets back his physical body, does he dare to use it? Spring-autumn cicada is not a problem. It was already sealed and is going to starve to death soon. Even if Fang Yuan can resolve this problem, spring-autumn cicada itself has a failure rate when activating. It still has heavens will hiding inside it. It will be a long time before he will be able to use it. Moreover, the attention of heavenly quartz goo immortals will also be attracted to him. Sixth Hair's expression shook, the visible worry lessening by a lot. He repeatedly nodded his head. Lord, you are correct. Ing Wu Xie heaved a long sigh. You will still have to continue to watch Fang Yuan. You are already exposed, but Fang Yuan won't make a move against you. It is okay if we are not able to suppress him. He has obtained so many immortal goo just now. They will certainly be a large burden to him. Moreover, the calamities and tribulations will divert even more of his energy. Let him develop. Wait until I gather strength and save our main body. Then we shall settle the score with him. One could learn from experience. After having experienced so much, Ing Wu Xie was rapidly maturing. He understood what he could give up, and more importantly, learned to patiently endure that he was, after all, one of the split souls of spectral soul, and had the natural skill to become a powerful expert. Suffering and setbacks were of value in life, and he was rapidly growing up because of them. Northern Plains, Langya blessed land. Some time had already passed since the transactions with Ing Wu Xie. Fang Yuan gazed at the immortal zombie body in front of him and sighed. I don't dare to use it. Fang Yuan rubbed his chin, feeling troubled. After he had regained his immortal zombie body, although he had used almost all the means available to him at present to conduct many careful inspections, he did not find any issues. But what origin did Ing Wu Xie have? What origin did Shadow Sect have? Spectral Soul, Demon Venerable. He was the progenitor of Soul Path, a Gu Venerable, a person who had once ruled over the world and all living beings. Would his split soul, Ing Wu Xie, have some kind of soul path method to create a sinister trap within this body? It was very possible. Fang Yuan's transaction with Ing Wu Xie had not been under any information path restriction from the beginning to the end, because neither side trusted the other. Moreover, Fang Yuan's information path methods were definitely inferior to Ing Wu Xie's. If he used an information path method to restrict himself, it was very possible the other party would secretly break it, and this would make it even more unfavorable to Fang Yuan. Thus, he was completely unable to guarantee the safety of this body. Fang Yuan wanted this immortal zombie body back mainly to obtain the acknowledgement of wisdom goo and use the light of wisdom. So he needed to put his soul into this immortal zombie vessel. This was very dangerous. Shadow Sect was most proficient in matters regarding the soul. Fang Yuan did not discover any issues. Perhaps Ing Wu Xie had not tampered with it. But the more likely possibility was that there was a huge issue with this immortal zombie body, only that Fang Yuan did not have the ability to discover it. Spectral Soul, Demon Venerable, was the founder of Soul Path. Fang Yuan trying to decipher Soul Path methods was like an amateur performing in front of an expert. Looks like I still need to inspect this body for a while. I can't be careless. Any slight carelessness and I might fall into a scheme of Shadow Sect. Fang Yuan warned himself. Only when he was 100% sure of safety would Fang Yuan use this body, or perhaps when there were no other options, he might choose to take the risk. Although I can't use wisdom goo, regaining my body and spring-autumn cicada is already a great success. Spring-autumn cicada had all along been Fang Yuan's greatest trump card. Now that Fang Yuan had gotten his body back, spring-autumn cicada, which remained in the first aperture as the vital goo, was naturally also back to eye in the previous negotiations when Fang Yuan mentioned for spring-autumn cicada to be returned. He was met with strong denial from Sixth Hair that he refused to admit Ing Wu Xie had spring-autumn cicada, because neither side was restricted by information path methods. Fang Yuan would not be able to tell apart truth or lies. There were no consequences for lying. However, Fang Yuan was even more unreasonable, directly saying, "That is impossible. If you truly did not have, then you people would ever find it. In any case, I don't care about others. but you must return my spring-autumn cicada. Fang Yuan had no bottom line, and his stance was extremely resolute. Even though Sixth Hair said that he would swear on his life, shouting loudly as he vowed, Fang Yuan's attitude was unchanged. After wasting a good amount of time, Fang Yuan regained his body and spring-autumn cicada. However, spring-autumn cicada had an issue that it was sealed by heavenly court's Gu immortals using some strange methods. It was already cut off from the river of time and was currently in a starving state. Moreover, Fang Yuan also knew spring-autumn cicada had heaven's will in it. This was his biggest threat. The immortal zombie body and spring-autumn cicada both had dangers lurking within them and could not be used. But even so, Fang Yuan was happy. Even if I can't use them, as long as they are in my possession, it is a huge victory, especially when spring-autumn cicada was a huge trump card. After regaining spring-autumn cicada and the immortal zombie body, Fang Yuan demanded fixed immortal travel in the second transaction. But where would Sixth Hair get it from? No matter how forceful Fang Yuan was, it was no use. Moreover, he could also guess fixed immortal travel might truly have been destroyed. If they had fixed immortal travel, they would have already used fixed immortal travel to make an escape. Why would they come to be extorted by him? A more crucial matter was that Fang Yuan and Sixth Hair had already completed a transaction. With the transaction, it meant betraying Langya's sect. Sixth Hair had a hold over Fang Yuan. Land spirits were single-minded and obstinate. If he discovered this, no matter how Fang Yuan tried to explain, it would probably be of no use. So Fang Yuan finally gave up on fixed immortal travel. Although he could not obtain fixed immortal travel, Fang Yuan obtained a large number of immortal goo in this transaction. A large number. Among them were Hei Lu Land Strength Chi Immortal Goo, Self-Strength Immortal Goo, and Flying Bear Strength Immortal Goo, as well as Tai by Yunsheng's Landscape, as before, and Man as before. Among Fang Yuan's own, there was Pulling Mountain Immortal Goo, Pulling Water Immortal Goo, Star Eyes Immortal Goo, and Calamity Beckoning Immortal Goo. Iron Crown Eagle Strength Immortal Goo and Connect Luck Immortal Goo had already been placed in Treasure Yellow Heaven by Wu Xie, and since Treasure Yellow Heaven was closed, these two Immortal Goo were also trapped within it. Each Strength, Cleanse Soul, Fixed Immortal Travel, Star Shoot, Star Mark, and Starlight had all self-detonated under Fang Yuan's special will, and Wu Xie had not been able to save them. Naturally, this information could be false as well. Fang Yuan and Sixth Hair were not bound by information path methods. The bottom lines of both sides had to be probed out by themselves. Maybe Wu Xie had secretly withheld some immortal goo, but Fang Yuan had already done everything he could and had no way to make Wu Xie spit them out. After all, every time Fang Yuan transacted, he would be betraying Langya's sect once more, and his tough stance would weaken by some degree. While Shadow Sect had obtained a portion of the immortal materials, and their weak stance gradually strengthened by some degree. Of course, Fang Yuan had the firm upper hand from start to finish. After all, Wu Xie was the one in a bad situation, but Fang Yuan also did not want Wu Xie to die so quickly. If he died, as long as he left behind some clues to Heavenly Court's Gu immortals, Fang Yuan would soon be met with disaster. It was a much better situation with Wu Xie attracting the enemies ahead of him. Heavenly Court and Shadow Sect could mutually weaken each other, while Fang Yuan observed from the sidelines. Fang Yuan was aware that since he had stolen Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu, Shadow Sect would absolutely try to kill him. But this was also a reason for Shadow Sect to secretly protect him. Hong Yun's example was right in front of him. Fang Yuan knew he was Hong Yun from Shadow Sect's point of view. Shadow Sect definitely wanted to re-refine Sovereign Immortal Fetus Gu. It was just that the situation currently did not permit them to do this. Since Wu Xie had looked for Fang Yuan to do transactions, it meant he was truly at a dead end. Fang Yuan had to leave him some hope that if Fang Yuan truly forced him until he gave up and went to drag both of them down, Fang Yuan would also be implicated and might even die. In fact, what Sixth Hair said at the beginning had been effective. Chapter 1080, Flying Bear Transformation. Several days later, Langya blessed land. Two figures were cutting through the air before they suddenly stopped. This land is a desolate area. It is suitable for our spar. The figure ahead observed the surroundings and spoke leisurely. Brother Fang is right. The figure behind was a hairy man Gu immortal named 12th Hair. He spoke brightly and with a grin on his face. Compared to the other hairy man Gu immortals in Langya's sect, 12th Hair was somewhat special because he not only cultivated refinement path, but also cultivated enslavement path. He was a dual cultivator of refinement and enslavement path. The IT was not an easy thing for Gu immortals to cultivate two paths, because almost all Gu immortals only had one immortal aperture. When they underwent immortal ascension, the Gu worm they used for breaking open their aperture into an immortal aperture would be what decided their main cultivation path. The Tao marks added on from passing tribulations would mostly be of their main path as well. However, in this world, there were many Gu immortals that cultivated two paths as well. They were mostly rank 6 and rank 7, cultivating one path primarily, while cultivating another path as a secondary path. Such Gu immortals often had fortuitous encounters, obtaining immortal Gu that were suitable for cultivating two paths. For instance, Fang Yuan's Eat Strength immortal Gu could increase his strength path Tao marks. If Gu immortals of other paths obtained it, they could also dual cultivate strength path. 12th Hair was not an exception. In his early years, because of an unexpected surprise when refining Gu, he obtained a completely new Gu embryo from the failed refinement. After his immortal ascension, he raised this Gu to rank 6 and named it Immortal Slave. This Gu could add enslavement path Tao marks to his body. This made him rather special among all the hairy man Gu immortals. The previous Langya land spirit had taken great care of him. Although enslavement path did not have much of a relation to refinement path, Langya land spirit encouraged 12th Hair to continue cultivating both paths, because the enslavement path Tao marks in 12th Hair could provide huge help when refining enslavement path immortal Gu. The current Langya land spirit regarded 12th Hair with even more respect. But what he prioritized was the aspect of battle strength. 12th Hair cultivated enslavement path. This was an excellent foundation. Langya land spirit even gave beast enslavement immortal Gu to him, intending to nurture him as their enslavement path battle strength. Every emperor had his own favorites, but 12th Hair was even more well-liked and was the favorite of the current Langya land spirit. Fang Yuan had not been very sure on the details about these hairy men, but in the secret transactions with Wu Xie, he obtained much intel about Langya blessed land. The intel could not be said to be very precious, but they were of extremely huge help to Fang Yuan, letting him have a comprehensive understanding of Langya's sect. Fang Yuan and 12th Hair both descended to the ground. Cloud Cover Continent's ground was made from cloud soil. It was white and slightly soft. It was very different from the sensation of an ordinary muddy surface. 12th brother, please. Fang Yuan gestured with his hand. Haha, brother Fang, I won't stand on ceremony then. Chestnut Yak, come out. 12th Hair laughed loudly. He somersaulted, and while landing on the ground, he hit the ground with his palms. He looked like he was horsing around, before suddenly performed a kneeling ceremony towards Fang Yuan. Gu immortals paid attention to their bearing. This kind of humiliating action was absolutely avoided by human Gu immortals. But these hairy man Gu immortals were different. They had gone through the previous Langya land spirit's nurturing. Each of them were very straightforward with very shallow battle strength. Over these last days, Fang Yuan was already used to the unusual. 12th Hair knelt towards Fang Yuan. His excited expression suddenly stiffened. Ah. He raised his head, looking at Fang Yuan. How embarrassing, I failed. No problem. Fang Yuan warmly smiled. It is an immortal killer move. Failure in activation is an unavoidable matter. Try again. Yes. 12th Hair repeatedly nodded his head, somersaulting once again towards the back, and with a slam, his knees and hands touched the ground simultaneously. Silence. After being at a standstill for several breaths of time, 12th Hair stuck his tongue out, licking his lips. Damn, I failed again. Let me try again. Swoosh, a somersault, slam. Kneeling towards Fang Yuan. Another few seconds of standstill, but there was still silence. Let me try again. I don't believe it. 12th Hair shouted in determination. Swoosh, a somersault, slam. Kneeling towards Fang Yuan. Another few seconds of standstill, but there was still silence. I'm sorry, wait a while. 12th Hair said to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan warmly smiled. It is understandable. 12th Hair gratefully nodded his head as he made an attempt again. Swoosh, a somersault, slam. Kneeling towards Fang Yuan. Another few seconds of standstill, but there was still silence. This continued for a dozen or so times without any success. Fang Yuan had not even made any move, but 12th Hair had already spurted out several mouthfuls of blood. Moreover, blood was seeping out of his ears as well, his face getting paler and paler. Failure in activating an immortal killer move would cause backlash to the Gu Immortal. Even Fang Yuan also could not bear to see this continue, and could not resist reminding. From my observation, 12th brother, your somersaulting has almost no use towards the immortal killer move. Might as well try discarding it. Somersaulting. 12th Hair scratched his head and said, innocently, this is my meticulously designed movement. Don't you feel somersaulting will make me look imposing and cool? Fang Yuan's face almost was distorted to the point of lines appearing, as he thought. Your movement of kneeling towards your enemy is indeed imposing. But 12th Hair was also an obedient person who knew to correct his mistake. Since Brother Fang thinks it is inappropriate, then I will change it. After that, 12th Hair no longer somersaulted. Instead, slam, he directly knelt towards Fang Yuan. It was a standstill. Several breaths later, he stood up, puffing out a mouthful of blood. Refusing to give in, he said, let me try again. Several tries later, an azure blue radiance suddenly blossomed from 12th Hair's hands. The radiance quickly enlarged, and actually formed a blue lake on the ground. The lake water surged, and a cattle-shaped desolate beast rode the giant wave, charging towards Fang Yuan. Rumble. The blue lake water washed to the shore. The giant yak stepped on the ground and grunted towards the sky. Whoosh. A formless sound wave squeezed out the air and actually stirred up a vortex. This giant yak was bluish-black, with a large head and thick lips. A pair of bull horns spaced quite far apart pierced towards the sky. It had a wide chest and a large stomach, but it gradually became slim towards the rear. The whole body looked huge at the front and small at the back. The lower side of its body and its forelegs were covered with thick hair that were drooping down to the ground. Its tail was thick and large like a brown broom. There was no doubt of the might of this giant yak, and it also had a superb debut, brimming with a tyrannical aura, forming a completely stark comparison with 12th Hair's performance. However, Fang Yuan did not care. Chestnut yak. This giant yak might be a desolate beast, but it was well known for its low battle strength. The impressions of many Gu immortals towards it were of the unique flavor of its meat. It could be eaten raw and tasted like chestnuts. This was the reason for its name. But the chestnut yak's battle strength was naturally not the weakest among desolate beasts. The publicly recognized weakest desolate beast were desolate beast dragonfish, which Fang Yuan was breeding. It finally activated. 12th Hair was jubilant, and shouted as he pointed at Fang Yuan. Chestnut yak, charge. Snort. The chestnut yak grunted towards the sky once again, but did not move. 12th Hair's face flushed with embarrassment, and seeming holding back his anger, he commanded again. Charge, 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 you foolish yak. The chestnut yak only then started to rush forward. It was already at a very short distance away from Fang Yuan, and reached Fang Yuan within a few steps. Strong winds surged forward. The chestnut yak was enormous, and as it rushed, it was like 4 carriages stacked together. It had quite an imposing aura. Fang Yuan chuckled. Inside his immortal aperture, change form immortal Gu flew up. Following it, all kinds of supplementary mortal Gu flew up and revolved around change form immortal Gu. Transformation path immortal killer move. Flying bear transformation. Bright radiance suddenly erupted. An intense light forced 12th Hair to close his eyes. 12th Hair quickly activated his investigative Gu. A layer of transparent crystal covered his eyes, and he was able to open his eyes again. The light had yet to dissipate, but 12th Hair was able to see the scene clearly. Bam! The chestnut yak seemed to have collided into a giant beast. This giant beast was even larger than it. The chestnut yak's collision showed no results. This time, the light dissipated and revealed the true appearance of the giant beast. This was a giant white bear. Its physique was burly and bulky, and its body was covered in short and densely packed white fur. It had sharp claws, and its short tail was curled up like a white pom-pom, appearing somewhat cute. This was a transformation of Fang Yuan into a desolate beast flying bear. When the chestnut yak saw this flying bear, its eyes immediately popped open as its imposing aura vanished like a flickering candle. It gave a miserable cry before actually turning around and running away. 12th Hare yelled furiously at this. "You cowardly yak! You are also a desolate beast. Damn it, go back." He activated his enslavement path method and was only able to regain his control over the chestnut yak after it had ran a large distance. The yak once again charged towards the flying bear. The chestnut yak was herbivorous and had a docile nature. This chestnut yak had been raised by the previous Langya land spirit in order to use its meat as gu refinement immortal material. Because of Shadow Sect's sudden attack, Langya blessed land's other desolate beasts all died. So 12th Hare could only use this chestnut yak to practice his skills. Fang Yuan quietly stood on the spot, and only when the yak had reached in front of him did he exert strength in his limbs and erupt. Whoosh! The flying bear's enormous physique did not implicate its speed in the least, as it easily dodged to the side. The chestnut yak brushed past the flying bear. The flying bear roared and suddenly turned around. Leaping towards the sky as it descended, the flying bear stretched out its right paw and slammed at the back of the chestnut yak. Bam! There was a strong collision. White cloud soil flew all around. The chestnut yak was heavily injured and was actually slammed to the ground by one smack from the flying bear. A huge crater formed on the level ground. The chestnut yak was defeated in the blink of an eye, lying on the crater without moving. Its eyes revealed its terror, and its whole body was trembling.